Okay, Ahsoka episode 4 and 5. While the conversation around episode 5 is dominating for obvious reasons, I actually like episode 4 more. I think it's the best episode. I think that the exchanges of dialogue between characters continues to be a weak point for the show, but I don't outright dislike any of the characters, which I think makes it all the more frustrating for me that they don't interact in a more human way. So far, I think Shin and Baylan have the best delivery in the cast, and they're getting rightfully praised for it. I understand that this is supposed to be a more emotionally muted time in Ahsoka's life, and I think the next episode even makes efforts to address that. I still think characters could be having more fun. I think there could be more show don't tell. The episode opens with 2 scenes in a row where Ahsoka basically says the same thing, asking Sabine if she can be trusted, to which Sabine says yes both times. Then Ahsoka talks about how she knows how much Sabine misses Ezra. This is an example of a moment I think could have been more subtle. I know this is foreshadowing for what's to come in the episode, but it just feels a little clunky. Like, if we wanted to reinforce that Sabine misses Ezra, we could have a scene of her clutching the last holo message Ezra gave her, or taking a moment to stare at his lightsaber before picking it up. I feel this would have been less redundant, but from here on out I have very few complaints. I loved Sabine's rematch with Shin in the forest. I really appreciate the use of destructible environments in this episode. I really like the color of their sabers bleeding out onto the surrounding fog as well. The glow of the color isn't overdone like in Kenobi. And if I'm going to revisit this show for anything, it's going to be for scenes like this. Ahsoka vs. Merrick was less exciting, but I still enjoyed it. Her finisher felt very anime. As she slashed through him with one stroke, there was a pause, and then the green smoke burst out of him like blood in Kill Bill. Fun as the theories were, I was never on board with the idea of Merrick being evil Ezra or Star Killer. I'm so glad he was just a nothing villain that looked cool. No need to overcomplicate things. Anyway, Shin sees this and looks appropriately freaked out, not because I think she was friends with Merrick, but because Ahsoka and Sabine are now going to dogpile on her. At least they should have. But Sabine tells Ahsoka to leave her and go get the map, as the longer they wait, the closer Morgan gets to making the hyperspace jump. Huyang suggested Ahsoka and Sabine not separate earlier in the episode because they work better together, and of course, the moment they do, things start to go very, very wrong. So Ahsoka confronts Baylan at the side of the map. He talks about how he knew Anakin and how it must be really hard for her that her master became a murderer. Her response is, "I don't want to talk about it, and I'm going to kill you now." Seems consistent. Like master, like Padawan. She's the first to draw her lightsaber, and he actually seems pretty bummed that it has to end this way. I can't help but wonder if she would have taken a less aggressive approach if the clock wasn't ticking. Maybe it was just manipulation, but he seemed pretty calm and open to talking. What follows is my favorite duel of the series so far. They're both watching each other very carefully, changing stances, and he seems to take the fight very seriously. Not overconfident as antagonists can tend to be. He displays a lot of raw strength, but still has fluid movements. I found it very exciting to watch. Meanwhile, Shin knocks Sabine to the ground, and Sabine attempts to use the Force on Shin. She actually manages to use just enough to push Shin's face to the side like a slap. Shin slowly turns back to look at Sabine and says,
"You have no power."
And I just love her delivery so much because it seems like she's insulted by the idea that she's wasting her time fighting someone who has such low aptitude for the Force. I love that they're continuing to have Sabine be weak with the Force. It allows room for growth and improvement. Sabine's response was perfect, just using her Mandalorian wrist rockets to knock the saber out of Shin's hand. Shin uses a smoke bomb and at that point disappears. Ahsoka tries to grab the map, which badly burns her hand, and she tosses it aside. I saw the criticism that she should have destroyed it right then and there, but I think she still believed she could beat Baylan and wanted a chance to find Ezra. I don't think she knew that it was searingly hot before touching it either. But it's this very thing that loses her the duel. Since she has one hand down, she's unable to hold back the strength of Baylan's attacks. When Ahsoka sees Shin return, she thinks Sabine is dead, and in a fit of rage, she grabs Shin with the Force and throws her against a stone pillar, knocking her unconscious. This in turn infuriates Baylan, who starts striking her even harder than before. This was the most emotion we've seen from either of them up to this point. It was very interesting to see them outwardly display their feelings for their Padawans. Sabine then arrives to see Ahsoka on the back foot, and Baylan takes this distraction as an opportunity to knock Ahsoka off the cliff into the ocean below. Sabine tries to fight, but it's useless. Baylan enters her mind, and now we learn some very crucial information. So apparently the falling out that happened between Ahsoka and Sabine prior to this series was, as he puts it, Sabine's family dying due to Ahsoka not trusting her. which is crazy. Maybe Sabine wanted to fight during the Purge of Mandalore and Ahsoka didn't let her go? I don't know, but it makes the awkwardness between them make a lot more sense. I need more context, but only having that information, it surprises me that Sabine would want to be around Ahsoka at all. So Baylan plays on Sabine's feelings of isolation and convinces her to come with him willingly and be reunited with Ezra. While the foreshadowing was clunky, I still like that she makes a selfish choice here. I'm sure plenty of people called it, but I didn't see it coming. Rather than our protagonist being all good all the time, I appreciated this twist. So finally they take off into hyperspace and there's a wonderful scene transition that goes from ocean waves to the glowing blue magic of the world between worlds. This is where Ahsoka is. You hear Anakin's voice call out to Ahsoka and sure enough, you see him standing behind her. Now it was immediately obvious that his face looked pretty weird, but besides that, the costuming for his Revenge of the Sith look was spot on, and I was happy to see him back. Okay, that's it. Episode 5.
Okay, I'm gonna do the 3, 2, 1. You're gonna give me a clap. 3. She winked at me.
Welcome to Kath Mikey Make a Podcast, episode number 23. We just watched Ahsoka, episode 5. We're raw, fresh.
Mikey already did episode 4. Go check that out.
It's gonna be combined, so it's gonna be like at the beginning of
Then
this.
you can delete this.
I won't. Do you want to tell me?
What the fuck just happened?
How you, the thoughts and the feelings that occurred over the course of this episode. You can go, you don't have to start at the beginning. You can start wherever you want.
Then I'll start at the end. No, I like the first part of the episode.
Mm-hmm.
I was eating it up, like
yeah.
Like porridge, just like
Yeah.
eating all that.
It's pretty yummy.
All that yummy Clone Wars stuff.
It's like
I even like that they actually made a distinction between Anakin's haircut during the Clone Wars versus which I kind of used to think it was the same as the one in Revenge of the Sith.
Mm-hmm.
It's not.
I thought that too when I was little.
And I like that it looked
animation accurate. Yeah.
You know, I like that. I like that sprinkling
No,
in.
yeah,
I
Dave
ate
Filoni
it
gets it. Like, he would know.
But I liked it. But at the same time, what was the reason?
Well, he was.
No, I'm kidding. I know the reason. Like, I get it. Like, it was like, why? Like, where do I come from? What's my legacy? Why am I still fighting this war?
Mm-hmm.
And
it seems she's like harboring guilt about murdering since the time she was 15.
A babe.
Yeah.
A wee babe. A wee baby.
You know.
Yeah, and I get it. I get that. And who better than Anakin, Mr. Anakin himself?
To be like, murdering's fine,
Murdering's
actually.
So cool. It's cool. That's what I've been doing my whole life.
That's
too,
why,
so.
well, before I looked, before we started, I went to look at that scene where, so they're in the Clone Wars, she's doing the Siege of Mandalore, and she's talking about how my legacy is death, and he's like, no, you're more than that, because I'm more than that. And she's like, nobody knew how fucked up you were. Actually,
and then he got mad.
Yeah, and then he was
like,
he got mad.
He got all red eyes and red lightsaber. He was like, you underestimate my power.
He was kind of like, oh, you had to bring that up, huh?
Oh, really? Now's the time.
This is what I always come back to. Like, I love Anakin just because he's cool. Like, and in this episode, he does cool things, okay?
Yeah.
Like, he moved, like, from the moment he started moving with the lightsaber,
What's the actor's name?
Hayden Christensen.
Like,
I got tingly because it, like, when the movements are so swift, it's just like so cool to watch. And he remembers he had to train so much for those prequel movies and even for Obi-Wan.
Yeah, and no, yeah, it looks good. It's pleasing to the eye. And especially if you watch the Clone Wars. This is just like like I said. It's
also,
like,
exactly. I was like,
feels
people
good.
will say that this is like just member berries. Like they'll have the
like what? Sorry.
member berries.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember that South Park? With
I don't remember that. Sorry.
There are these little berries who are all like, do you remember Chewbacca? Do you remember the Millennium Falcon? And people are eating them and they're like,
I mean, they kind of
delicious.
Are. Like,
yeah, no, fair, but at the same time, like, because it's Filoni, because I watched all that stuff leading up to it, and I know that he loves it, I don't feel like it's cynical. Like, I feel like there's a heart behind it, because I know he cares. And like it, I do feel satisfaction seeing them together and seeing him have to treat a lesson. And I feel I have to rewatch it again because it was like a lot to take in, those scenes for us, you know, for like, because you got me into the Clone Wars. So like, yeah, it was a lot to take in, and I trusted that there was a lesson there. But like, right off the bat, you know, I always go back to, you murdered children.
Yeah, you killed younglings. You killed wee babies.
Wee little babies.
And the women and children too, because even if Padme forgets, I won't. Like,
But it seems okay. So I guess I could say he's like trying to get her to reconcile her darker aspects with her lighter ones.
Yes.
I felt like she was already there. Like in Rebels, let's say, but like,
okay, yes.
I guess I could be misinterpreting what she was like.
So, yeah.
Because she did feel guilty in Rebels.
I thought we've already passed that, because we, not just Rebels, we watched Tales of the Jedi. What was that whole episode about? Like, where she's like, oh, I don't want to fight now, and then she has to like fight because she realizes she has to save all these people in the farm. Like, do you remember that?
Oh yeah, like she accepts the responsibility.
Exactly, like she accepts it. Like, yeah, like maybe I do have to use these powers for something.
Yes.
And
it seemed like very noble.
Yeah, and it seemed to explain further why she actually got involved in the war, like in the rebel, you know, the rebel alliance, and she seemed to have her shit together.
But I guess this implies that under the surface she had like this
she still has issues.
This sort of self-hatred for, you know.
Yeah.
Because she was acknowledging that you trained me and you turned out to be horrible, evil. So maybe I'm horrible.
Okay.
But I don't know. I feel I'm not sure that was supported enough.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I felt too. I felt like it was cool to watch. It was
amazing to watch.
Yeah,
it was so cool.
Felt like I almost loved it. But then it was like, but I thought you already had this growth. Like, I thought it was, when I saw Anakin on the last episode, I thought this was gonna be more.
An entire episode. I thought the whole thing was gonna be his lesson.
But it felt rushed. It felt like just like a series of sequences of things that we haven't seen before. Like, we really haven't seen her question a lot of the things while she was still young.
But now it's like she's in her young self with the mind of an adult.
Yeah, I get that too. But I don't know, I feel like we could have explored more.
I feel like they should have touched on more significant points in their history.
Yeah,
and talked more extensively to each other. Like, I was really craving that.
Exactly. I was like, why are we going back to the real world? I'm not done here yet.
Yeah, I'm not exactly.
And also, I don't know. I just felt like it was a little too surface level. I feel like whatever anti-war, we've seen it before. Like, this isn't anything new. Maybe I'm wrong. But I feel like it wasn't like anything new that they were bringing up. Yeah, the Jedi were supposed to be these peacekeepers, and now they're soldiers. Yeah, but I feel like that's been a discourse before. I don't feel like, I don't know. Maybe
I'm wondering what they were trying to, like, there's one scene where she's like, how could you joke at a time like this? And he's like, how do you want me to be?
Yeah, I got that.
I'm trying to teach you how to survive out here. You know, I was trained to be a peacekeeper, but these are war times now, and so I have to be a warrior. And then he goes out into the battlefield, and she sees a flash of Vader. So, but is that Anakin now that was talking to her, or Anakin from the past that was talking to her? Because that would be two different things. If it's Anakin from the past, then it's showing like the folly of that line of thinking and how it led him down a dark path.
Yeah, that's why I was also a little bit confused, and I thought like the flash of Vader was even like unnecessary. It's like, we get it. You want us to remember Vader?
I wish he would have fully gone there. Like when he came out of the smoke, I thought he was gonna.
I thought they were gonna go all the way. Like if you wanna go there, then go all the way back to Rebels. If you're already bringing all the Rebel shit back, then bring back that fight and make them have like the real conversation.
We were going to like flash everywhere all the way to Malachor.
Malachor, bring them all the way to Malachor and make them fight it out there and have the actual conversation they should have had there.
I think our biggest problem here is they stopped too soon.
And
so everything, like,
because even it was Anakin, where she stopped, was Anakin at Mustafar, if anything.
It was.
It was Anakin at
Mustafar, yeah.
Mustafar. So it's a very different Anakin from what we get all the way to like we're already past. Trying to remember the names. Empire Strikes Back, and we're already past Return of the Jedi.
Everything.
That's what I was trying to get. So we've already passed. Like, he's dead, obviously.
Yeah.
So he's supposed to have all this redemption arc. I don't know. I wish I could have seen. Like, I thought the whole point was like for her to have all these conversations that she never actually had.
Have
with
a better
Anakin.
Understanding and realize that it wasn't her fault. Because if anything, I thought that was more her issue.
Yeah,
is that it's my fault because I left.
Exactly. And that would have been, I think that would have been more interesting. That like, oh no, maybe I'm bad too. It's like, no, girl, no. Like, you have like a fucking white saber. Like, shut the fuck up. Like, and that's neither here nor there. But like, it's obviously you're using, I don't know. Maybe I'm saying shit that for this character isn't obvious, but I thought she'd be more nuanced by this point. Like, she's already old.
Yeah.
She's like she's a big girl to be having.
And more, I just thought she would be more inquisitive. Like, why did you do what you did?
Exactly. I thought it would be more confrontational, on both sides.
And like, you know, him being like, I'm not denying that everything I did was horrible.
Yeah.
You know, but like there are still things.
Once again, no accountability.
There's still things left to learn from me, you know.
Yeah. I don't know. It felt a little bit lacking. It was, like I said, it was really cool to watch.
Yeah. But in a way that like worked against the episode as a whole, because the highs were so high that like the rest of it was like okay.
Okay,
we're riding the Purgles, okay.
The Purgles don't even feel that cool anymore.
Hu Yang was good this episode.
What?
Hu Yang was good this episode.
Yeah. All right. And I don't know. Yeah, the rest of the episode, and I don't mean to sound mean. But it reminded me that you were saying like the CW acting. It felt like CW writing.
From who in particular?
Towards the end, like that's like this. Wow, it's from the stories you told me. Yeah, that's from the stories I told you.
I mean, the whole show's kind of been like that, you know, like.
Yeah, I guess I just noticed it more this episode. like on the first episodes, you're kind of forgiving. You're like, let this grow on me.
Yeah.
But now by episode 4, episode 5, I'm like, okay, this is.
Like, come on, move on.
Yeah, okay, let's get to the point.
And because I think part of it is I was so excited for this episode. You know, like I was.
But it's because
stoked.
I was, and I guess I know you already talked about episode 4, but
yeah.
I think for me episode 4 was the best episode.
I was about to say that actually. Like
up
as
till
a
now,
whole
like,
package, it was very good.
It was episode 4 has been the peak right now. So I thought it would have gotten darker than that. So I was expecting like the conversation between Anakin and Ahsoka to get like dark, to get like into and that's why and that's where I'm coming from. Like, so I don't mean to sound dismissive of this whole season. That's why I say I do like it, but I was expecting whatever they're gonna get into to be darker, to get into like the darker aspects of both him and Ahsoka, and probably it would have. Now I'm like, you know, daydreaming here, like, you know, making, you know, how I always do, trying to make the episode better. But it would have been interesting for us to find out what exactly happened between Ahsoka and Sabine. Like, what was it? Like, what did Ahsoka ignore that Sabine knew that might have ended in the Purge of Mandalore?
Yeah, well, I think that's still good to come.
Yeah, but it could have they could have added a little bit more. Maybe Anakin could have, like, a meaner, like, angry Anakin could have been like, yeah, but what about your shit? Like, what about the shit you've done? He could have been like, and how are you treating your Padawan? Exactly.
Let's go and look at your history, actually.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like, he's supposed to be this
because her family died.
Yeah, you know, right. And he's supposed to be this like, he's in the living force now. You know, he's part of the living. Well, yeah, he's part of the living force, not the cosmic force now.
Isn't he part of the cosmic force? Because the living force is like, isn't it like organic beings?
But I thought, and maybe I'm wrong in my lore, but I thought like with training you can retain. Maybe what I'm thinking is like he retained consciousness in the cosmic force.
Yeah, I think that's still cosmic. Yeah.
Okay, it's so yeah, like he's supposed to be part of the cosmic. He's supposed to be a little bit more all-knowing than regular.
Well,
Anakin.
He doesn't seem not all-knowing though. It seems like he knows stuff that she doesn't. He's just being cryptic.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. But I mean that it could have gone into him like pressing on her. I don't know.
Like you were saying, like you thought they were gonna go dark. I thought they were going to talk and like sort of reconnect for a moment before she like really remembers what he did, and like it gets darker and darker until she's talking to Vader, you know.
Yeah,
and because that's really like what she has to make
that's
connect.
What I thought the progression
in
was
her head
too, because they start all like all playful, and that's what I thought until it got all the way to Malachor.
Yeah, Malachor. And I just hope that this wasn't the only opportunity to see their dynamic, you know.
And he might come as a ghost. Force ghost, sorry.
Maybe.
No,
it's like, but even because I feel like in this case, Dave Filoni also failed the audience who hasn't seen the animated things. Like, this was their chance to see what their relationship was. And this is the first time in the show where I feel like, you weren't given enough context for their relationship.
Yeah. Like, you were like, I know, this is the Siege of Mandalore. And she says it, but it's... I don't even know. I'm not a fucking screenwriter. I don't fucking know shit. I don't get paid for this.
No, but it's just, like, you're not...
But what I'm thinking is that... I don't know. I feel like it needed better structure. It needed more context. It needed more meat.
Yeah.
For me... And this is us coming from... I saw all the Clone Wars
Right. So like when going into this
over and
episode,
over.
I didn't think we were gonna come out of it being so critical. And
Me
at the
neither.
same time, while I am so critical, I'm gonna rewatch those scenes again. Like I'm gonna
Those specifics.
Yeah, those
I'm not much of a rewatcher. I might rewatch episode 4.
I'm a big time rewatcher.
I know, but I don't know. It kind of like took it out for me to like go back to like Hera and the New Republic, and it's like
It's like I'm not ready
care
to
about
be here.
you. and then I know they wanted to just set it up for like next week.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like
And I
don't
do want
give
to
a
see
fuck right
where
now.
it
I want
goes.
to know what I want to know
Exactly.
what she gets out of this.
I feel like you and I like we really came out of it like with the same feelings.
Okay. Yeah. I
Yeah.
was like, and yeah, I like I told you, I did watch Space Ninja.
Friendly Space Ninja,
Friendly Space
the
Ninja's
Mandalorian
video,
season 3 video.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like how I think I mentioned this to you, how he talks about they're so focused on legacy, like Star Wars. It's so like has a big boner for its own legacy, and which is fair. And I recommend everyone watch that video, because even if you don't agree necessarily with a lot of his points, the main thesis makes a lot of sense. And he's kind of right, but that's like, you know, a different story. So I was trying to get away from that cynicism and like being like, this is just like one big circle jerk of like, you know, what we know of Star Wars. And even then, even like taking away all that and like going back to appreciating as a fan of the Clone Wars, it still fell short. It was a bit sobering being like, oh, it's over? Like, wait.
Yeah, because it was so much like,
and then
I'm getting what I wanted, and then it's done. And then we're
nothing more.
we're
is it?
we're
Really?
Purgles. We're on top of a ship.
It's like
we're Ahsoka without her headpiece. We're like,
Yeah,
whoa, what's going on there?
it just makes you. I felt like, you know, like feeling like being left hungry, like you eat and you're still hungry.
Exactly.
And it just made me criticize everything more, like being like, well, how did she survive for so long in the water?
Right.
Though?
Sure, I mean, but if he heard the lightsabers clashing and she was in the world between worlds, then there may have been like a physical aspect.
Jedi magic.
Yeah, I mean, pretty
No,
much.
yeah, basically, that's half of Rebels.
Insert Han Solo saying that's not how the Force works.
Yeah, exactly. Can't have it both ways.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to use
Like,
that clip for many things.
I want to, like, I still think they can bring it home. Like, I want to see where this season goes. I want to see Thrawn and Ezra. But
I'll watch. I'm not saying that I'll stop. I'll watch all of it. And
and by the way, like I mentioned to you, like Hayden Christensen looked weird in the last episode, but he looked terrific. Like,
yeah,
there was pretty much 0 points where I was like, that's uncanny. He looked great.
Looks great.
Yeah.
He looks great, amazing. Like,
yeah, bravo, well done.
Bravo, hats off.
To the visual effects department, who they've just been like stellar this whole show.
Yeah, they probably don't get paid enough.
But yeah.
Ew.
Yeah, man.
Anyway,
Sobering is a good word.
yeah, sobering. Back to the Purgles.
But like Ahsoka talking to the Purgles, and you know it agrees to take them. I really like when they land inside its mouth, and Hu Yang is like, "You're sure that it knows where we're going?" And she's like, "I don't know."
No.
It's like, what?
FAO.
I like
Just
that
vibe,
it was just
guys.
like one word. He was like, "What?"
Let's
'Cause
just
he's
vibe.
1,000, 2,000. He's like really old, thousands of years old, and he's like, "This is how I die."
This is it. This
'Cause
is
I'm
how my
with
circuits
this
are fried.
Tentacle-headed idiot.
It's fucking. She's not even a real Jedi Knight. What the fuck am I doing here?
I can't believe this just sounded. Okay, all right. So yeah, wind out of our sails a little bit because it felt like it was ramping, and this was like a big payoff. But it's like, man, it literally should have been the whole episode and gotten back to Hera at the very end.
Yeah.
I actually would have been fine with them detouring from the main story with Thrawn and Hera and all that, and just stayed with Anakin the whole episode.
Yeah.
Have Hera rescue her at the end, and you could infer that, that Jason helped her find Ahsoka,
yeah,
or they could just mention it in
honestly,
a one-off.
I didn't need the whole scene with like, listen to the waves.
Mm-hmm.
Like, girl, we know his dad is a Jedi. Like, we get it. Like,
I do wonder.
He's gonna be force sensitive.
Like in the trailer, there are Anakin lines that were not in this episode at all. So I wonder if they're still to come or they were cut down, because a leak.
Yeah, or they lied to us in the trailer.
Maybe.
I haven't watched many trailers. I didn't watch that many
A
trailers.
leak that came out like a long time ago, and that was still going up until the release of this series, that was that Ahsoka was going to fight Anakin on Mustafar. And because she was going to see what would have happened if I tried to save you.
See, that's the kind of shit I want to see.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the kind of shit I'm here to see.
So I have to say that a part of me, and I kept that from you, by the way, like I didn't want, because I wanted that to be a surprise. I was actually kind of upset that I read it.
It's okay.
So, but it's very clear to me.
You just got me excited for the rest of the season.
It's clear to me that since like you didn't know that going into the episode, that it was disappointing anyways. Like it wasn't just my expectations being shot down.
I was disappointed. It wasn't just the wine I had before the episode. I was yeah. I don't know. It just how do I say? It was like half like this really cool episode, and then half of it was like a mid Rebels episode.
Yeah,
It just felt like, really, come on. Like even that episode where Ahsoka fucking fights Vader on Rebels.
Yeah.
Was cooler.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, and also like, because of Rebels format, because it's so short, even the mid episodes are like snappy. Because it has to be
quickly. And this one, I think they took too long on some of the scenes. I honestly like I get it. Like Carson is from the Mandalorian, but we don't need him that much. We don't need his presence.
I mean, particularly not here.
Not
I
here.
mean,
It wasn't necessary. It was a funny haha joke, but it felt like a Rebels joke. And
what joke?
Like the stalling.
Oh,
part.
right, the stalling him. Yeah.
You're not gonna believe it. There's some whales. It's like, bitch. After fucking Ezra, like, save everyone because of the Purgles, I thought everyone would have known what the fucking Purgles are. Like, now this is like, you're not gonna believe it. The Purgles are like this whales. Ugh. Okay, I'm getting riled up. I'm gonna calm down. You can talk.
No, I get. That's a good point. That I wasn't really considering, and it kind of like speaks to the New Republic in general, like how their apathy towards war heroes. They're just like it's like nobody remembers what they.
But it wasn't that long.
What they did for the cause. It's
I know,
only
but
like 7 years ago.
Like 7 years? I thought it would have been
7
less.
to 8 years ago, something like that.
Really?
It might be more.
Huh.
No, it is, because so it's more because Jason is like 13 and he was born like,
but he was already like a big, like a toddler during the Battle of Endor.
Exactly.
So it might be like 10 years. Let's say he was like 3 and now he's 13, so 10 years about.
It's like 13 to 15 years post Ezra going to the other galaxy.
That's not even one generation.
So it's not
That's
not even that's what I'm saying though. It's not even that they're forgetting. It's just like the sheer disrespect to what they achieved and like their contribution to the cause of the rebellion. Like
I feel I kind of understand that they're trying to, or like I'm hoping that's what they're trying to establish, that this is their own downfall, that they were too trusting and they were like they didn't have like this organizational or like historic memory that they preserved of like really what it took for them to get there, and that's why the First Order happened.
That's like you say you hope they are trying to establish that. They are establishing that.
Okay, yeah.
But they're so fucking
annoying.
Stupid.
Yeah,
and
it's like
they're
really
like so just ignorant.
Yeah,
that it's like going past the point of like believability, like you
exactly.
something deeper
that's why
had
I wanted
to happen
to get
here.
at. That's why I went to get at. It's like really that dumb? Like, I don't mean to, I feel like I'm sounding a little bit,
The Republic is really that dumb. The New Republic, the way they're writing them.
Verbose is not the word. I feel like I'm not using my words right here, but it feels like it's comically dumb.
Yeah.
And usually how governments
kind of like the Empire was in so many projects.
Yeah, true. But you can see like Andor kind of showed that it's so big and it's so many, it's like a Leviathan that it's huge and it crushes you, but at the same time it can't keep track of everything, and it shows how like people take advantage of that. It shows like it. So you. Yeah,
they were very clear about their advantages and disadvantages.
Yeah, but here it's just like, what do we do? And I don't mean no disrespect, but
no,
it feels
because
unbelievable.
He's brought us so many stories we enjoy, but it's just like so pivotal to where things end up. And ultimately, I think what the real problem is, and I think it reaches back in time and poisons everything else, is that we know where it ends up.
Yes.
And nobody likes where it ends up.
Nobody likes that. Nobody.
It's like in Fallout, everyone disliked that. And J.J. Abrams is like, oh no, my karma.
Oh no. If it would have been more. I don't even know how to necessarily make it more believable. Again, but
you don't have to be to be critical. It's just we're bringing our own biases into this. We're not telling anybody fact.
What I was gonna say was like I have seen government operate. And they're not very efficient necessarily. Like
it's made of people.
And maybe that's not the point of the show to show that. But I don't know. I feel like. I don't know. I think there could have been other ways you could show how the New Republic fell. How the New Republic is going to fall. I don't think so far they've done it efficiently. Like you pointed out on the Mandalorian episode where they show the doctor that
Dr. Pershing
gets tortured at the end. They tried, but it wasn't the best. Like, it wasn't that well executed.
We had already seen Andor by that point.
Exactly. They forget we've seen Andor. I feel like every show has forgotten we've seen Andor.
It's a gold standard. Honestly, I feel like we should do a rewatch and like we should talk about Andor because we watched it week to week.
I don't know. Andor had something to say, and
It
right now,
did have something to say, and it did it multiple times. So it like proved it wasn't just a fluke. Like again and again, it was like, hey.
Every episode was like, and the same way like that Andor has something to say about I guess these big government, but also like fascism and
being choked by the system.
Yes, exactly. Getting like eaten by the system, you could say. This could have, if you really wanted to get on the political side, you could have also said something about how like liberalism can also has its pitfalls, and how all these like, you know, like these more liberal governments that want to be these liberal ideas. And I'm not saying leftist. I'm not, you know, liberal in the sense of like politically liberal.
Yeah.
Progress kind of thing. How it can also not devour, but like forget people, and it can also forget its own history.
It can also lose itself.
It can also lose itself. Yeah.
Like they're trying to balance world building and like the pulpy action adventure, and one of these is clearly getting the short end of the stick.
And I think it's world building, definitely.
Yes.
Like it's
it makes me wish they would consult, like Dave Filoni would consult with Tony Gilroy, like on his scripts.
And like talk a little bit and be like, "These are some books I read. You should read on some."
You know, because Dave Filoni knows the lore so well that he could be like, okay, this is the state of their government at this point in time. Like it's way after Andor. And I feel like Tony Gilroy would be able to say, okay, well, these are the pitfalls of what happens at this time.
After you take like this ultra, dictatorship and like try to make it into a republic.
But I have a question for you.
What?
The prequels have like terrible dialogue.
Agreed.
Is this better than that? Like as silly as it is.
Yeah. In a way. Yeah. Yeah.
In some ways, yeah.
Do you mean though? Yes.
Yeah.
And you can see it that
Hayden Christensen.
Hayden Christensen.
It's funny you checked with me. Hayden Christensen.
Hayden Christensen.
Hayden Christensen.
Hayden C.
Yeah. Perfect.
Had better. It's clear that he had better material to work with. Like his lines sounded better, and he probably had a better director.
Well, he's also like his voice is also just deeper.
Yeah, but
before he was like, "Is your master?"
Master. No, but that's in a way it was also direction. That's what I.
Yeah.
Thought.
No, it's true.
He was going for something, and he was also directed to go for something like Vader something, and it didn't turn out. It just didn't pan out. It just didn't work. But they don't sound as stilted as they sound in the prequels. Like the prequels are only good in retrospect. They're only good after you've loved and cared for Clone Wars, and then you rewatch the prequels, and you're like, yes, I love this. Except Phantom Menace was just best.
Yeah, you're clearly nostalgic for the Phantom Menace.
Yeah, I'm
because
nostalgic for the Phantom Menace.
Not good.
It's the one.
Okay, so yeah, where I was going with this was that there's a place for this kind of Star Wars.
Yeah.
Like I feel like Andor is just gonna be like a once in a lifetime kind of deal.
That depresses me.
Hey, we're getting season 2.
Yeah, but
we're getting season 2.
Okay, but
but
I guess I just wanted the rest of Ahsoka to be more like episode 4.
Yes.
Like,
but I feel like that's still
it's
in the
still,
cards.
It could still happen. It could still be a thing.
Yeah, I think that's in the cards. But the Anakin thing definitely hurt. And what part of what I take from this is I would really, really like if they... I just want Hayden Christensen back for something where it's like about him, so that we can get...
Just give him a whole show.
I just want
Just
something
give him a Vader
like
show.
that.
Fuck it. Fuck it. We'll do it live.
I would watch a Vader show.
Yeah.
Give it to Tony Gilroy. I'm a genius. Do you see this, Morty? And he's like, I don't know. I just want to die. It's like what I felt like just now contemplating the Vespa gang.
Yeah, they are Vespas. They're not even motorcycles.
Fucking hell, what was Boba Fett?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Definitely their lowest low. Like, Rise of Skywalker.
Pales in comparison.
I wouldn't say it pales,
phrase.
but I wouldn't watch either of them again, so it's hard to...
No, I have no interest.
Anyways, I guess if anything I could say this is still better than that, so... We done here?
I guess we're done.
We're gonna do this again next week, okay?
Yeah.